everybody. Welcome back to the shop. I'm Shannon Rogers and welcome to the Renaissance Woodworker. Today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about my toolbox, but I've started to call this my mobile workbench because it's so much more than just something that I can store and carry my tools in. I built this as part of a hand tool school project in semester 4, and I got enough requests from the general public just to kind of take a look around inside of it that I thought I'd dedicate this episode to the toolbox itself. First and foremost, it has several compartments. The top slides off completely. It's held in place with sliding dovetails and a catch in the back that secures it. In the top, I have a lift-out tray, and in this tray, I carry most of my small tools, from block planes to chisels to layout tools, even a pair of ceramic sharpening stones. It gives me kind of a little sharpening station on the road. I can move that out of the way, and I have a central compartment inside that right now is mostly empty. I can carry larger things like a mallet. I have a strop that I can take out on the job site, a couple of clamps, even a brace and bit. I have a little box that I keep nails, spare nails, drill bits, things like that in here. And I have an additional fence that I can use on the actual top, and I'll get to that a little bit in a minute. The third compartment is a drawer on the bottom. It releases by a catch on the back, and the drawer can slide out, and it actually can slide out both sides. It's a double-sided. In this drawer, I've got really my mainstay tools. I've got a jack plane, a router plane, a back saw, and a rip and crosscut panel saw. And with the toolkit I carry in here, I can build just about anything. Plus, I've got enough room left over in the toolbox that if I have some very specific tasks that I need to accomplish, I can fit more tools in. Say I needed to do some specific kind of intricate curve cutting. I could take a fret saw and very easily drop it in the main part here. Or if I really wanted, I could grab my turning saw, disassemble it, and drop it in the main compartment if I had to do more curve cut type work. I've got plenty of room in the drawer on the bottom and in the main compartment to put molding planes or any other kind of joinery planes. And when I put it all back together, I slide the top back on, clamp it shut, I've got a great work surface. This is a 1.5 inch thick top. This shooting board, I guess for lack of a better term, it just pops out and it's held in place by two dowels in the back into these two dog holes. And I can drop this fence in. It's a nice low profile fence that I can do any kind of pairing work with. But actually, because of the fact that I've got this shooting board set up and this plywood piece underneath it, I actually use this as a work surface more than anything, because let's face it, this is really beautiful walnut. I'd be almost ashamed to kind of ding it up. So I keep this in place. It makes a great sawing hook where I can grab a piece of wood and use it as a bench hook. To do any kind of cross-cut work. Or if I come over to the other side, I've got a section that it doesn't reach all the way to the edge, and I could grab, say, a block plane or my bevel up jack plane, and the jack plane will sit right over on the side, and this acts just like a shooting board. The plywood lifts the work up off the base and compensates for the bottom of the plane, and it works perfectly as a shooting board to true up any cuts that you've just made. Of course, this fence offers the perfect work surface where if I needed to do some kind of pairing actions, I can take my chisels and I can work right up against that face. I can do chopping exercises right here on the top. So say we're cutting out dovetails and I need to chop out the waste in between. It all works right on top of that. And actually, speaking of dovetails, this little deal on the front is a face vise. It's based after the twin screw kind of Moxon style vise. There are two 3/4 inch bolts that run into the interior of the case, and they're backed up by 3/4 inch nuts on the inside. So the bolts actually extend into the case. Very little, they rarely get in the way. And I've got them, these knobs on the front are just little discs of teak that were turned on the lathe and epoxied into place. And I can drop my workpiece kind of right here in the vise. And I've got a nice sturdy vise for dovetailing, if that's what I wanted to do. Of course, you can cut tenons or really anything where you need to work on the end of a board. The toolbox itself, it's not super light, but it's also not really heavy. What I like about it is it sits up, it's raised up off the ground or a bench top or whatever with 2 feet on the end. And those feet have a slight hollow cut out on the end. So it registers nicely on just about any surface because we don't have a wide bearing strip. But it is massive enough that I can do quite a bit of work up here without it shifting around and moving around on me. So if I just cut a tenon and I needed to trim that down, I can do that very easily right here on the bench hook without the whole thing kind of shifting around and moving around on me. The entire case is put together using compound dovetails. As you can see, it slopes in from the side and it slopes in from the ends in the same angle. So I've got a kind of a cool looking appearance, very functional front vise, very functional top with swap out shooting board and bench hook, a lot of storage, and it all just gets thrown over your shoulder. And I had this really cool leather strap made by Earthly Leather Designs, a little shop I found on Etsy. And Danielle, who I worked with, actually put in a little pattern of an axe, chisel, saw, and hand plane right here into the leather. The straps are adjustable. I've got this great little holder for a pencil and a nice padded strap, and I can pick the whole thing up and carry it wherever I need to. I think this is it's something that, you know, is not going to get used every single day because it's not like I leave the shop all the time to do work in the field. But I've recently had to do a cabinet installation off-site. My shop was overrun by parts that I was finishing, so I had to do some work just out in the backyard. I loaded this up with some tools, went out into the backyard and did some work. And, you know, carrying the tools wasn't that big of a deal because it was right into the backyard. But this mobile workbench really was awesome. I could just set it down on the ground. The mass and the whole work holding functionality was fantastic for whatever I needed, any kind of sawing that I had to do or joinery work or something like that. Probably need to wax those pegs a little bit so they slide out a little easier. When I remove that, of course, I've got these 2 dog holes, and if I take this lift out tray out of there, I've got enough depth underneath that if I wanted to use something like a hold fast, I could very easily, and I could lock work in place. So there really is no end to the possibilities, the work holding possibilities, and the work that I can do using this mobile workbench. Pretty excited to have this in my arsenal, if you will, and you can expect to see this in projects in the future. Maybe we'll leave the shop and take some stuff on the road. So I hope this kind of gives you the tour that everyone was looking for of this mobile workbench toolbox. If you have any questions, leave a comment below or send me an email. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.